Every time you change the angle, even a tiny amount, you remove material, but your burr does not get longer. Have you ever noticed that, this sharpening session is taking a little bit longer than normal? That's because you are either sharpening at an inconsistent angle or sharpening at the wrong angle. The most common mistake, whether you are sharpening your first knife or your 50th, is sharpening at an inconsistent angle. When you put knife to stone, you have to decide at which angle to hold the knife at, because how you angle the knife dictates the angle at which you sharpen. Sharpening at an inconsistent angle, or a better way of saying it, at multiple angles, is a very common flaw in new sharpeners and even some moderate sharpeners technique. This is why I strongly recommend that you don't mimic pro sharpeners when first learning how to freehand sharpen. I made a video about it already. When you push and pull in quick succession against a stone, it is very easy to accidentally raise and lower the back of the knife. I've decided to coin this error wobbling. This change of position of the spine of the knife changes the angle at which you are sharpening, as the knife spine sort of wobbles up and down while you move the knife back and forth. This is a problem since, again, this is done without newer sharpeners noticing, and a big reason why your knives just don't seem to get as sharp as you want them to be. That and improper burr removal, but that's a whole different topic. My fix for this is to implement quick swipes in one direction across the stone. Why quick swipes? Well, I ask you this: which is easier, drawing a straight line slowly or quickly? You know the answer already. It is much easier to draw a straight line with a swipe as opposed to slowly dragging the pencil over the paper trying to keep a steady hand. This line, although not pretty, is straight. There are no wobbles or curves in the line that I drew quickly. The same can be said about sharpening a knife. Moving quickly in one direction only engages your reptile brain. Your mammalian brain doesn't have time to kick in and introduce errors by asking questions like, is this the right angle? Is my technique good? Why is this taking so long? Or, will this damage my knife? All are great questions, but wholly unnecessary and damaging to the new sharpener's technique. Now, the big question: do angles matter when sharpening a knife? Yes and no. For the new sharpener, I will metaphorically down the hill that angles do not matter. What matters most for new sharpeners is a consistent angle. You can put any angle you want on the knife as long as you can meet the following criteria. 1. The knife edge is sharp. New sharpeners shouldn't worry about durability, as they need to visit the stones more frequently to increase their technique. 2. Refer to 1. You only need the knife to be sharp. Now, sharp is largely subjective. What I consider sharp will differ from what you consider sharp. Yes, there is an argument to be made that someone that is new needs to be both precise and accurate while sharpening, and I get that. But maintaining a 15-degree angle without the ability to accurately measure in real time the angle you are sharpening at introduces a large amount of unnecessary frustration during sharpening, which discourages folks from engaging with the activity altogether. To the ones who somehow overcame this frustration through sheer devotion to pedantic rhetoric, hats off to you. For me and my new sharpeners, we can produce very good edges with a quarter of the sweat and a lot less frustration. And once you have a consistent angle down, which you'll know by increased knife performance, you can then be accurate and start honing in on maintaining a 15-degree angle. Sharpening can and should be a therapeutic hobby once you get the hang of it. Remember, it's more about engaging your reptile brain than your mammalian one. Whoever the great philosopher was that came up with "no thoughts, head empty" must have been a knife sharpener. Now, sharpening at the wrong angle. This is where things get pretty complicated, and for someone like me, very slippery, because you must consider everything about the knife at this point. Like the steel, who made the knife, how thick it is behind the edge, is it a single bevel or a double bevel knife? Does it have a secondary bevel behind the cutting edge? Does it need to be thinned? And so on and so forth. Your knife comes with an angle already set on it. To avoid the slippery slope that this puts me on, I will say this: it's okay to put your own angle on your knife. Heck, at some point you will have to. But know that a lot of the modern sharpeners don't use the stone for setting angles in sharpening knives. They will use large sharpening wheels and belts to get the job done. This allows them to sharpen and polish at a much lower angle than me or you can comfortably replicate using a sharpening stone. It's actually pretty cool if you want to ever go down that YouTube rabbit hole. Now, have you ever noticed that a brand new laser has virtually no bevel at the bottom? Well, that's because it's a laser and has been sharpened by the best of the best knife makers. Not being able to sharpen at this low angle is okay. You can still get a very nice knife edge using a whetstone. Now, sharpening takes practice, and you need a good practice knife to get your technique down. Don't go for a laser quite yet. I know they are so tempting, and yes, they are awesome. Instead, go for knives that are a bit thicker behind the edge. This allows for more, errors during sharpening. Also, pick a knife that has no designs on it, that are also flat, and have a relatively soft steel. Knives like this one are perfect for learning how to sharpen. I first learned how to sharpen on this Tojiro VG10 Nakiri. Of course, all steel is hard, but some are more enjoyable to sharpen versus others, as they sort of dissolve on the stone when you sharpen them. Not literally, but I hope what I'm saying is coming across. VG10 is a really good steel in that it is pretty good at sharpening and can get sharp and remain sharp. You can also put that characteristic Japanese 15-degree edge on it, and it's hard enough to hold that angle for a long time. My Tojiro doesn't have any designs or patterns like Damascus or Pearskin, and the knife face is practically flat. No secondary bevels for me to scratch or mess up when adjusting my angle up and down. Now, this was my first knife that I learned all of my technique on, and I was able to successfully get pretty much all wobbling out of my technique using this knife. For those out there whose first knife looks like this, trust me, just take it to a pro to get sharpened. If you damage this, there really is no easy way of fixing it. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to drop a like, and if you want to see more, subscribe.